Here's a number that reframes every World Cup match you've ever watched. 8. 94 years, 22 tournaments, over 900 games played. 211 countries have tried to qualify at some point in this tournament's history. 8 of them have ever won, and in 2026, the United States is hosting. 16 cities, 48 teams, the largest World Cup in the history of the sport, on American soil, which makes this conversation more relevant right now than it's ever been. Today we're ranking all 8 World Cup champions, fewest titles to most, and we're going past the highlight reels, the actual data, the controversies, the stories that don't make the ESPN broadcast, because a few things you should know up front. One of these titles may have been decided by a goal that Oxford University scientists say never legally crossed the line. One was won during a military dictatorship, with documented allegations of a fixed match. And the most successful nation on this entire list hasn't won in 22 years. This is where we start. Let's go. Quick context on why this list is so short. 211 countries enter World Cup qualifying every 4 years, 2 full years of regional elimination games, just to reach the tournament itself. Once they get there, they need 6 or 7 consecutive wins against top-tier opposition. One bad night, and you're on a plane home. Since 1930, that process has produced exactly 8 champions, and it's not that the others lacked talent. The Netherlands has been runners-up 3 times, 1974, 1978, 2010, and has never won. Portugal had Eusebio, Figo, and Ronaldo. Never won. The gap between almost and champion is massive. Here are the 8 who made it. Numbers 8 and 7 are tied, both with 1 title each. Starting with England. England invented this sport. The Football Association standardized rules. 1863. First international match ever played. England versus Scotland. 1872. They've had 160 years of institutional advantage in a sport they created. 1 World Cup title, and that 1 title has been disputed since the day it was won. Wembley Stadium. Final against West Germany. Tied 2-2 going into extra time. Jeff Hurst fires a shot. Ball hits the crossbar, drops toward the goal line. Soviet linesman Tofik Bahramov, who didn't speak English or German and was communicating with the Swiss referee entirely through hand gestures, signals a goal. England win 4-2. Celebrate. Move on. Here's what came out later. In 1996, researchers at Oxford University applied biomechanical analysis to the original footage. Their conclusion: the ball did not fully cross the line. West Germany's goalkeeper Hans Tilkowski maintained it wasn't a goal until he died in 2020. The debate has never been officially settled. 58 years since 1966. Still 1 title. Still waiting. Also 1 title. Spain. Completely different story. Spain had been ranked in the global top 10 almost continuously since the 1980s. Multiple generations of world-class players. Multiple World Cups where they were listed as favorites, and they kept finding new ways to collapse in knockout rounds. 1950, 4th place. 1986, quarter-final exit. 2002, knocked out after 2 goals were controversially disallowed in the same quarter-final. 1 ruled offside. 1 called for a foul that replays showed clearly did not happen. Sports researchers actually studied Spain during this period. The academic term for what they documented is choking under pressure in high-stakes elimination formats. Spain was the case study. Then 2010, they lost their opening game, 1-0 to Switzerland. The number 1 ranked team in the world lost to Switzerland in Game 1 of the tournament they were favored to win. They won 6 straight after that. The final against Netherlands became the most aggressive World Cup final in history. 14 yellow cards, 1 red card, 28 fouls committed by the Dutch. Extra time. 116th minute. Andres Iniesta. 1 touch. Bottom corner. Spain had won Euro 2008 before this. They won Euro 2012 after it. 3 consecutive major international titles. The only national team to ever accomplish that. 1 World Cup. Inside the most dominant international run any team has ever produced. France. 2 titles. 1998 and 2018. And both times they looked like completely different countries. Paris. Home tournament. France hosting for the first time in their history. 10 of the 22 players on that squad were immigrants or children of immigrants. Zinedine Zidane's parents emigrated from Algeria. Patrick Vieira grew up in Senegal. Lilian Thuram was born in Guadeloupe. They beat Brazil 3-0 in the final. Zidane scored twice in the first half. The celebration on the Champs-Élysées was attended by over 1 million people, one of the largest public gatherings in France since the liberation in 1944. Completely different generation. Average squad age, 26. Kylian Mbappé was 19 years old, only the second teenager in history to score in a World Cup final. The first was Pelé in 1958. France beat Croatia 4-2. It wasn't particularly close. Then 2022, the tournament French fans don't want to revisit. They made the final again, trailed Argentina, came back to level it at 3-3 with 7 minutes left in extra time, lost on penalties. 3 finals in 24 years, 2 titles, 1 loss that came down to a coin flip format. France still has Mbappé. He's 25. Also, 2 titles. Uruguay. Probably the most improbable story on this entire list. Current population of Uruguay, approximately 3.4 million. Smaller than Los Angeles. Smaller than Chicago. One of the smallest sovereign nations to have ever dominated any major international sport for any sustained period. They won in 1930, the very first World Cup ever held, and again in 1950. 1950 is the one that matters historically. Brazil is hosting. The final match, technically a final group stage game, but functionally the championship, is held at the Maracanã in Rio de Janeiro. Official attendance, 173,850 people. The largest crowd ever to watch a football match in recorded history. Brazil needs only a draw to win the tournament. O Mundo, one of Rio's major newspapers, printed a front page the morning of the match, declaring Brazil world champions before kickoff. Uruguay came from behind and won 2-1. What happened in the stadium after the final whistle has been described by every journalist present the same way. Complete silence. 173,000 people. Not noise. Not chaos. Complete, total silence. The Maracanazo is still referenced by historians as one of the greatest sporting upsets of the 20th century. Not just football, the 20th century. A country with fewer people than Chicago walked into the largest crowd ever assembled for a sporting event and broke an entire nation in half. Argentina. 3 titles. More controversy packed into their history than every other country on this list combined. Buenos Aires. Argentina is hosting under a military junta, a dictatorship that seized power 2 years earlier and would be responsible for the disappearance of an estimated 30,000 people during its rule. The junta used the tournament as an international propaganda event. In the final group stage game, Argentina needed to beat Peru by 4 goals to advance to the final. They won 6-0. Subsequent investigations documented that in the weeks before that match, Argentina's central bank unfroze Peruvian funds, and Peru received a shipment of Argentinian grain. Peru's goalkeeper was Argentinian-born. The margin was exactly what Argentina needed. FIFA investigated. Nothing was proven. But 1978 has an asterisk that serious football historians don't skip. Diego Maradona, quarter-final against England. He scored the first goal with his fist. He later admitted it in his autobiography. The referee didn't see it. The goal stood. 4 minutes after that, the goal of the century, Maradona picked up the ball in his own half, ran 60 meters, dribbled past 5 defenders and the goalkeeper in approximately 11 seconds. FIFA officially voted it the greatest goal in World Cup history, in the same game as one of the most documented cheats in World Cup history. Same player, 10 minutes apart. Qatar. Messi. His 4th World Cup final. He had lost in 2014 to Germany in extra time. The final against France in Qatar. 3-3 after extra time. Argentina won on penalties. Is widely rated the greatest World Cup final ever played. 35 years between Argentina's 2nd and 3rd title. 3 titles. 0 ordinary ones. Italy. 4 titles. And one of the most remarkable individual comeback stories in the history of professional sport. Paolo Rossi. Context. 2 years before the tournament, Rossi received a 2-year ban from football for his involvement in the Totonero match-fixing scandal, one of the largest in Italian football history. He served his suspension, came back barely match-fit. Italy's group stage, 3 consecutive draws. They nearly went home before the knockouts started. Then Italy faced Brazil in the 2nd round. Zico, Socrates, Falcone, Junior. a squad that most analysts still rank among the 3 most talented ever assembled at a World Cup. Rossi scored a hat-trick. Italy won 3-2. He finished the tournament as leading scorer with 6 goals. Italy won the whole thing. A man who was suspended for corruption became the hero of Italy's greatest World Cup. 2 more things about Italy that usually get glossed over. Their 1934 and 1938 titles were both won under Mussolini's fascist government, which explicitly used those tournaments for international political projection. And Italy, a 4-time champion, failed to qualify for 2018, then failed again in 2022. 4 titles, 2 tournament absence, the most jarring recent record on this list. Germany, also 4 titles. Built completely differently from Italy. Italy survives chaos. Germany wins through system, preparation, and the ability to perform when the stakes are highest. 1954 carries more weight than any other title on this list. West Germany was 9 years removed from World War II, under Allied occupation, economically devastated. The final opponent, Hungary, unbeaten for 4 years, who had beaten West Germany 8-3 in the group stage of the same tournament. West Germany won 3-2. German historian Joachim Fest later described the miracle of Bern as the first moment of genuine national confidence Germany had experienced since 1945, a football match carrying the weight of national reconstruction. Then 2014, one number, 7, Brazil hosting, semi-final, 74,000 people at the Estadio Mineirão. Neymar injured, Thiago Silva suspended. Germany scored 4 goals in a 29-minute span in the first half. David Luiz broke down on the pitch. Fans outside the stadium burned Brazilian flags. The Brazilian press called it the Mineirazo, a deliberate reference to the Maracanazo of 1950. 2 national traumas, same country, 64 years apart. Germany beat Argentina 1-0 in the final. 4th title. Their system had worked again. Number 1. Brazil, 5 titles. And the most complicated relationship with the World Cup of any nation alive. Start with the records. Brazil is the only country to have qualified for every single World Cup, all 22 that have been held. Brazil has shown up every single cycle since 1930. 5 titles: 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, 2002. The 1970 squad is still considered by most football analysts the greatest international team ever assembled. Pelé, Jairzinho, Rivellino, Carlos Alberto, Tostão. Their final against Italy produced what FIFA officially voted the greatest team goal in World Cup history, an 8-pass sequence finished by Carlos Alberto after a move that started at midfield. They didn't just win tournaments, they changed what people believed was possible within this sport. Now the number modern Brazil can't escape. 24 years since their last World Cup title. Brazil hasn't won since 2002. And in 2026, they arrive as 5-time champions, carrying the heaviest expectations of any nation in this sport. 24 years, still waiting. Why only 8 countries in 96 years? It's not talent. Morocco reached the 2022 semi-final, first African nation in history to do that. Japan beat Germany and Spain in the same group stage. The talent gap is closing. The infrastructure gap isn't. Every country on this list had professional domestic leagues, funded youth academies, and elite coaching pipelines running for decades before they won anything. Germany overhauled their entire youth system after getting knocked out in the group stage of Euro 2000. They won in 2014. 14-year pipeline. Spain's investment in La Masia produced Xavi, Iniesta, and Puyol, the core of the 2010 generation. That's the real answer. Culture compounding over generations. Right now, June 2026, 48 teams are about to decide whether this list stays at 8. Biggest tournament in World Cup history, on American soil. The 9th name hasn't been written yet. Subscribe for the full World Cup Hidden History series. New video every week. Next one goes inside the most controversial tournament ever played. Drop in the comments, which country on this list surprised you most? And who writes that 9th name? See you in the next one.